Great, let's start. So first of all, welcome. This talk is pretty much dedicated to partners, so official and learning partners. My name is Salvatore. I'm working at Odoo since 6 years now. I started as an account manager, so managing partner like you. And then I was, after a year and a half, I went to establish the Asia Pacific office in Hong Kong for 3 years. And I came back, well, recently, more or less 1 year ago, to take over channel and change a bit the way we interact with our partners, the way we manage our partners, and tackle the, I would say, the frustration, and yeah, so treat you in a different way. Well, there are a lot of faces that I know already here, but I wanted to introduce myself before starting with this talk, okay? So, okay, great, that's the other way. Well, first of all, I took that quote. I mean, I've seen a lot of presentations where they start with the quotes. The message here is we want to say our important partners are for Odoo. It still represents a lot of revenue, a big part of the revenue of Odoo. And I do believe that the success of Odoo is really related to the success of partner. So I took that quote from Bill Gates that I like. Our success has really been based on partnership from the very beginning. Another quote that Bill Gates said a couple of times is, we will become rich by making our partner rich. Okay, so that's a little bit the spirit of this presentation too. We will discuss about a couple of subjects. The first thing is the evolution of the partner program. For those who are partners since a couple of years, well, you know that we have changed a lot of things, that we try to increase the value proposition of the partner program and to change a bit also the way we treat our partners. Second thing is we'll discuss about how step by step we try to improve the partner journey from the beginning to the way we treat you to, well, all the KPIs that we're asking you to. And last but not least, we'll talk about what is next. So what you can expect from Odoo, what is the help you can receive from us, and then we'll go with some question. I believe this session is also about answering your concern, frustration, or question you might have. Okay. Well, first about the partner program. Well, you know that we have changed completely the way we offer. Well, first of all, the offer itself about the partner program, but also we released 2 different offers. One that is the learning partnership program, another one that is the official partnership program with Ready, Silver, and Gold. Well, the reason of doing so is, one, we wanted to make the partnership more accessible to people that were interested in Odoo and in reselling Odoo. So paying a high amount to get access to this partnership program was sometimes problematic for people that wanted to train themselves and propose Odoo to a potential customer they might have. So we created this learning program. The point of the learning program obviously is to get access to a lot of documents, training, etc. that we provide to you. But let's say that those partners are not yet ready to go to markets. Okay? So they are not really yet ready to welcome leads, to be visible on a website and these kind of things. Another problem we had with the previous partnership program is the quality of a partner network. So we based ourselves only on, well, the revenue they were generating to list them as Ready, Silver, and Gold. That's why now we became more strict about the quality of partners, and pretty much we requested our partners to have, well, to increase a couple of other KPIs, other metrics to show how qualitative they are. Okay? The 3 metrics that we took for this partner level are those ones. So you can see the number of licenses sold, the certification, and the renewal rate. The reason why we took those ones, as I said, the first one is mainly about the experience that the partner has. How many projects he managed, what's the size of the project he managed, and the idea would be to know, okay, does he have a lot of references already or not? Okay. The second thing is about competencies, so the certification. What we want to make sure is that all the partner network have at least the same qualitative functional knowledge, and that's why we released a functional certification to make sure that, well, we are all on the same level, and we are all functionally certified by Odoo. The third thing is renewal rate. So it's great to attract new customers. It's great to be functionally trained, but if you attract 10 customers and the year after they are gone, it's not a good thing for Odoo. It's not a good thing for you neither. So we wanted to reflect that also in the partnership level and in the partnership program. That's why we introduced that metrics. Okay. So I took, just as a reminder, I mean, I think now you're all aware of this. You can see per level what you are expecting, and if you want is a bit like, I would say at school when you succeed the first grade, then you go to the second one and the third one. Okay, so the idea is obviously to bring you all to the gold level. Okay. When do we review that? We review that on a quarter basis with your account manager. So this is part of the discussion you will have with your account manager to see how far you are, what are the KPI you reach, and what are the KPI you need to pay attention to. Okay. Well, now, I mean, it's good to set some KPIs, right, to increase the quality. I believe that this is a positive change for good partners. Well, it impacts partners that are not doing well, but the idea is also to help the ones that are not achieving those goals to achieve those goals. Okay. So in order to do so, we try to change a bit the partner journey works from the beginning till the end. So I'll go through every step of what I would call a partner life, so the partner journey, to tell you what we did to improve a little bit the partner experience. Well, the first step, let's take a partner that would start. The first thing they have to do is get a better onboarding. Okay. I do believe the first success or the first successful step that a partner can take is train himself and his team functionally. So that's why we have released a lot of videos, exercise, business cases that you can find on the e-learning platform that allow you to train your team in a proper way. Related to that, at the end of the e-learning, you have the certification that would allow you to, well, simply follow those videos and then validate the knowledge that you have acquired through the e-learning platform. Okay. Now, this is great because it's about using Odoo, but using Odoo and selling Odoo is not at all the same thing. So we released, well, first of all, we released a partnership knowledge base. So this is, again, a platform where you can find a lot of information about, well, how to be a good partner, in brief. We just released new videos right before Odoo Experience, so make sure you have a look at this. This is divided into several categories. The first thing is, what are the first steps that you can take as a partner? Okay. Here we're talking about well, just activating your account, putting yourself visible on the website, maybe the first marketing action that you can take to get your first leads. So this is the idea of the first part that you have here. The second thing is about sales. We know that a lot of partners are good functionally, they have good technical people, but sometimes it's quite challenging to sell. So in this partnership knowledge base, what we're trying to push towards partners also is tips and tricks that we have acquired based on our experience on how to sell. So it goes from how to qualify well a project, to avoid losing too much time in pre-sales, for example. Also to make a great demo of Odoo itself. So what are the things that you should do, not do, etc. And you can ask your account manager to coach you on this. But also we include the offer part, so based on your markets, how you should, which kind of offer you should provide, the way you should design your offers, how to explain the services of the licensed enterprise. So all this is included in this partnership knowledge base. Obviously then the sales part is great. What we want to make sure also is that the implementation part is good too. So we released a couple of videos, documents about what, according to us, a good implementation should be, and what a new partner that has never done an Odoo implementation should follow to do a proper one. Okay. We have now improved also the partner dashboard. I would say the partner dashboard is the central point for you to interact with your Odoo person, with your Odoo account manager, and to get access to all kind of documents, also including leads, opportunities, contracts, your quotes, the quotes we send to your customer, your contracts, etc., etc. Okay, so it's a central point to gather the full information related to your partnership. And then to continue with the education, we just released recently a new game, Scale Up. I'm not sure if you have seen that. And the idea is to let you train your team with this game in a funny way, I would say. This is available, it's completely free for partners, so feel free to request yours if you didn't get it. Usually when you sign a partnership, you get it. Okay? So this is the first step for me of successful partnership, is to make sure that you functionally trained, that you get a proper training in terms of sales, in terms of implementation. And on this partnership knowledge base also what you can find is marketing material, frequently asked questions in terms of, okay, how to link a database, how to make sure that the ping is working, all those kind of things are also available. Okay. The second step, now that we are trained, is making sure that we go to markets. Okay. One thing that I made sure of since a year now is one big issue that we had is account manager, as they had this really reactive role. Okay. So pretty much they had a lot of partners. I think on the slide I put it 65, but in reality it was more 80 partners per head. And this didn't allow them to spend some time with you as a partner and to understand well, what are the pain points of your markets, how they can help you, visit customers with you. Those are things that are not possible when you have 80 partners per head. So we reduced that number of account manager, that number of partner per head to today 25, and we'll probably continue this way. The idea behind that is that each account manager becomes responsible of a certain country, a certain markets, can understand the pain points that you guys have to also, well, fix those pain points, and go with you visit customers to propose a standard demo of Odoo. Okay. So here, those are the points that I put it on my slide. Is more time, I would say, in general, becoming expert of the markets, and qualify for you also some leads and opportunities we receive. And I believe that this will change the relationship we have with our partners. Rather than calling you, asking you, do you have revenue for me? We will try to bring you qualified leads to bring you revenue. That changed completely the mindset of the channel and of the account management. Okay. So right now you would have two roles. So two Odoo people that are responsible of your account. You have the channel account manager and what we call the customer success account manager. Okay. The first role is divided into two categories according to me. Is your main point of contact. So it's the person that will tell you a lot of share with you a lot of information, that will understand, as I said, who you are, do partner reviews with you, review with you the different KPIs that we set. That's the first responsibility of the channel account manager, is to manage your account in general. The second responsibility that you see on my slide is about commercial activity. So the same way then, for example, any sales would do it, a channel account manager will receive opportunities, qualify them, do demos, and make offer to customers regarding licenses, but obviously include you in that process. Okay. So those are the things that you can see. Well, this presentation will be available, so in case you can't read it for people that are pretty far, this will be available on our website, and feel free to drop me an email if you need it. The role of the customer success team, you should see them as your partner for retention of your customer. So what they do is they manage customers that are 9 months old at least, and the idea is to do customer retention and have a strategy for that. So they do general checkup with your existing customer to see if there are issues they can help you with, and pretty much propose additional services. The idea is obviously, the KPI they have is upselling, so making sure that the customer grows with Odoo and with the partners, and retention, making sure that the customer doesn't go away and is happy with what he gets and the services he gets from the partner. Okay. Now what is next? For me, I do believe that we still have a lot to achieve. We have a lot of partners in the network that are not activated yet. A lot of partners, I keep hearing the same frustration or complaints. And I believe that right now, this year, the feedback is pretty positive about what we have done. The idea first, to me, I believe any partner in this room will agree with me by saying that one of the key things is getting leads, right? Getting business. If you do have business, your partnership is profitable, and then you have no problem to continue being a partner, selling Odoo, and keeping them on enterprise contract. One great way to get leads for me is roadshows. So we have done, those are the numbers of this year. This is the number of roadshows we have done this year. So 268 roadshows. You can see a lot of registration. So per roadshow, we have more or less 200 attendees, I would say, on average. So this is a great way to promote yourself and make yourself visible. So since we have seen that this is working, now we're trying to replicate that. So we'll probably do the same, but more roadshows, but we'll change a bit the structure. Now the roadshow will be divided into 3 days, with still a generic roadshow where we present Odoo to people that has never seen it. And then we'll do more specific roadshows. So it's also part of your discussion and strategy that you should have with your account manager about, okay, do I attend a specific roadshow? Do I attend a generic roadshow based on which type of customer you're looking for? Here in terms of roadshow, we're talking about, well, mainly accounting or manufacturing roadshows that will be more specific. Okay? If you want more information about this, feel free to discuss with your account manager, and can also assist you in choosing the right roadshow in the right city and at the right time. So we might also change a bit the specific roadshow that we do in one area or another based on, okay, the customers that we have there and the potential leads we have there. Okay? Partners that attended those roadshows are pretty happy about the results. They meet a lot of people, they get a great visibility, and I believe for a fraction of the cost. Okay? Now about getting leads, making sales, one important step is also the implementation methodology. Okay? Right now we have one issue also with our partners is should we do development? Should we do a lot of consulting? What is the right implementation? How is Odoo managing that? Why sometimes also we have two approach, that direct and indirect approach, and we have sometimes we feel that the customer is looking at the SaaS approach and then the partner approach, and there are some competition happening there. That for me is not a real competition, but the idea here is to push the implementation and let's say the good practices that we have seen to partners. So we just released also a book that is available here at the entrance with all the do's and don'ts that we do for we think are right for the proper implementation of your customer. Okay. So here we can see a lot of documents that are available, implementation methodology documents. Obviously, we still renew different things about the technical side of Odoo, so the architecture, how to develop correctly, etc., etc. And we can also offer you different services to help you and to assist you on those projects. This is the next, my next slide is about this. So one problem that we have also that a lot of partners are telling me is they have a lack of resource. Right now, Odoo is growing a lot. We have a lot of demands. We have a lot of people that are interested in having Odoo. The problem is sometimes we are too booked. We are too full. And another issue that partners have is they have one project, all the resources are fully booked, and then when the project ends, they need to start again the sales process, and this takes time and usually impacts their profitability, their general company profitability. What we're trying to offer here is telling you that we are there to help. So right now you can have access to consultants, so just people that could be expert in a certain market, certain area, or certain expertise in terms of scope of the apps, or you can have access to also developers if needed. Okay, so we try to assist you. We'll see on my next slide the idea of this new offer that we call Odoo Evangelist. What you can see here, as I said, is that you can define that you need a specific profile for a specific type of customer. Typically, you could have the product owner for manufacturing, or you could have someone that has done a lot of projects in, I don't know, like purchase or services companies. Okay, so based on a CV that we can send you, you can log this resource and allocate them to a specific project for a certain period of time. Okay. Typical kind of example here, you could use this service for pre-sales, for technical review, for code review. All those kind of services are, of course, part of this offer. The idea, as I said, according to me and just according to the whole company of Odoo, the partners are really a key element for us to continue to grow and to continue to boost our sales and your sales too. I believe that right now, if you have a proper onboarding in the way we train our partners, from a functional point of view, but also from a sales point of view, we have a better account management services in terms of, okay, the way we treat you, the way we come with you visit customers. When you visit customers and you have the presence of the editor is always something that is really welcome. We help you to implement projects with the right methodology, with also resources if needed, so consulting or development resources. I do believe that the KPIs that we set to achieve a gold level partnership are really achievable. Okay. I didn't make this presentation too long on purpose. I'm not sure how long we still have. 5 minutes. Okay, great. The reason is I'm here to answer your question. There are a lot of partners that I've seen already, but I would like to know if you have any question regarding the partnership program, the channel, also the way Odoo will make its indirect revenue evolve in the future. So thank you very much for your time, and I welcome your question. Yes.
You mentioned training and resources and the online side of things. Do you have a plan of actually starting to provide also training on the software development side for those companies that already have developers developing through the Odoo platform but would like to improve and scale that up?
Okay. I'm not sure if everyone heard the question in the back also. Yes. Okay. It's actually already available in a way. So you could purchase a product that we call Partner Pack, and through this Partner Pack, you have two ways to, one, coach your developers on how to develop properly on Odoo. And second thing is about development, so you have, code review and development coaching. So those are two aspects where we can train you. Now, if you want someone to come on site and train you, that's also something that we did in the past through this pack. This is just a case-per-case thing that we have to discuss, but it's definitely available for partners.
Yeah, we had that. We actually
okay.
had someone from your guys to actually come along, but obviously having something a little more advanced, it is a little bit more, because in a week, so and so much you can do on a basis. Put them in a position where they could start, but my question is there going to be something on the e-learning platform to actually strengthen their skills? For the development side, right now I don't think we have a plan for that. So right now the e-learning platform is mainly about the functional side and also pretty much the implementation. And the reason is simple, is because Odoo is pushing partners to go more towards an out-of-the-box approach rather than developing. So we try to educate our partners in a way where they would just push for the out-of-the-box approach, do some development if needed, but not teach them on how to develop anything, pretty much. That's a bit the idea. Okay? But for certain specific things, you can obviously have people that come to coach you or to even do some development for you. So we also have some projects where we have an offer called Development on Demand, where we send developers on site for specific projects to help you, if you lack resources or if you need developers on your projects. Okay? Yes?
Is that also the case possible for functional consultant? If you have a new functional consultant starting, can you provide training?
Yes, so the question is, do we provide the same with functional consultant? Yes, we do. So you need to see those partner packs as any kind of services that Odoo can offer in terms of functionally or technically. So the list of things that we can do are on the website. So if you type Odoo Partner Pack, but that's definitely something we can offer. So training to your functional people.
One-on-one training, or is it group-wise?
Up to you. For us, it's kind of a pack where we deduct the hours that they spend. If you have one person in the room or 10, for us it's the same cost.
Is it remotely or is it?
It depends where. If you're not too far from Belgium, why not do it face to face? If it's remotely, we just ask you to pay for the flight tickets and the time that they spend traveling. But it's definitely possible to organize that.
I have a question for the training center there in the partner board. Do you have like multiple logins for your different employees?
So the question is, do we have multiple login for partner dashboard? Yes, we do. So we have, this is something you can communicate to your account manager, and it gives access to all the people that have a specific email address. So it's based on the email address of the employee, and people can
security roles.
Okay.
Like bills
no, we don't have that on the partner dashboard right now. So we have that in the product. So in Odoo, obviously, you can set up different access rights. Now on the partner dashboard, you have only one access where you can access everything.
Can you access the academy board there in a specific way without the partner entrance login?
I'm not sure I understood the question.
Yeah, you have the academy part.
The academy,
the partner part.
Yeah. Yeah, the academy is something that you can access. Anyone can access it.
Anyone.
So that's completely fine. But for the partner dashboard, we don't have different access, right? Yeah. You still have to log in, but that's something that anyone can access. So if you request for an access, that's something that will allow you to get.
One additional access.
Yes, it's two different platforms, two different kind of access. Okay. Yes.
For these not ready partners like silver or gold, how long, let's say, when you get that title, how long it lasts?
Okay. So We review the silver and gold, even the ready, on a quarter base, and we always check the last 12 months as a period of time. So in terms of sales, in terms of retention rate, in terms of certification, we always check the last 12 months. And we review this quarterly. Was it clear?
I have a question that's maybe an advanced question.
I'm not sure I answered your question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But how, that means I get the, let's say the company gets this status and then for the next quarter, let's say.
You get the status because you saw that at some point during the last 12 months, you sold the X number of users. The last quarter, we will still check those last 12 months. If this sales is still within the 12 months, no problem. So we review this quarterly and we check the last 12 months. Okay? One last question maybe?
Yeah, I just want an advanced question on that. Do you have some kind of thoughts about the reseller program? The silver, the gold, the red programs? Because we base that on the revenue of the last 12 months. That would be smaller partners don't get a chance to go further because retention rate is much more important for a small partner than selling new contracts. They want to build a relationship with their customer. They will maybe sell 40 contracts a year for users, but they won't grow until 100 or 50 or. You think about that?
Yes, we thought about that. Okay, we thought about that in a way where we changed a bit the way we were counting users. So the way we were counting users before were only new contracts. Okay, so you had to bring a lot of new contracts and to sell a lot of new users. Which so if you had upsell on existing contract, it wouldn't count. So we changed completely that. Now the upsell that you have on existing contract does count. So meaning that if you start with a contract of 2 users and you have, for example, only 1 customer, what we request you is that you continue to go with this customer. And let's say you add another 10 user 1 year later. Yeah, I'll stop in 1 minute. That's completely taken into account in your partnership level. Now the role of the account manager, of course, is to know you and to assess a bit your situation as a partner. So we are not robots. The idea is not to cut completely your partnership if you don't reach it. But the idea is just to put everyone on the same line and to be fair with the whole network. So let's say if we ask you 50 users, you add 40, but we know that you have a great retention rate, that you're certified and you work well with your partners, we'll probably not downgrade you to a different level.
Yeah.
Okay?
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much.
Excuse me, do you have a business card?
Yeah, sure.
My name is Dennis van Halen. I'm working for a company called Huddly, situated in Oslo, Norway. I'm the head of support and customer relations. And the goal for me today is to talk about Odoo, obviously, otherwise I wouldn't be here today. The goal for me is to go over a couple of points which I think could be beneficial for you as end user, or for companies that are going to work with end customers such as myself. One of the first things that I would like to cover during my presentation is basically get to know your go-to-market strategy. Why is this important? Because it will basically give you the direction in which way you need to go to the market as one, obviously, but how to work internally. How do you build up your company? How are you going to organize and structure the way you set up the different systems that you're going to use? So that's one of the points that I'm going to cover. The second one is, obviously, bigger is not always the best. There's a lot of names out there, a lot of different systems. Don't be surprised on what they can offer and what you're actually going to use. So that's a point that I will cover as well later in my slides. And the last one is a link to the second one is don't be afraid to change your system. Don't be afraid to evaluate what you're actually using and just say stop. Okay, this is actually not for me. Move on to the next point. All right. If there's any questions, please just interrupt me. We can do it more as an interactive type of thing. If not, we'll do a QA session at the end. All right? Other way. First, I would like to begin with who we are. Who is Huddly? Huddly is basically a company that has begun six years ago by two people coming from Tenberg, Cisco, big video industry company. They wanted to offer something to the market while keeping quality, but for a more interesting price for the end user. Fully Norwegian, so we are full stack company. Embedded software, application software, design, everything is done in-house. We do the shipping, manufacturing till a certain extent. Everything is done in Oslo, and we ship globally. Why is this important? That means that there's a lot of people at stake. When I began 3 years ago, I think I was employee number 17. We are about 80 today, and we're still growing. It's a lot of interest around Huddly, and that brings a lot of challenges with it as well. That to say, try the video. Unfortunately, there's no sound, but what I wanted to show you is basically kind of what we do. So this is our promotional video. It has a lot of information which could be interesting for you guys to know. Why do I show this? It's just to show the complexity of the actual product itself. We began small. Like I said, 3 years ago, we're like 15 people making cameras in the office, shipping them from the office. As of today, we have 44.7 million Norwegian NOK in revenue on a yearly basis, and that was on Q2 2019. 50% of return or of profit margin in Q2 2019. We're shipping by the thousands now, globally, with strategic partners. I'll come to that point later on. But it hasn't just come to that point overnight. There's a lot of things happening. Why is Huddly important or becoming an important player in the video conference market? Because we're agnostic. You can use it with any type of platform, any type of video conference tool that is out there. Plug and play type of situation. Everything is done on the camera. It's USB powered, so you don't need additional cables, you don't need software to actually make it run. Take the camera, plug it in, you use it, and that's it. And on the camera, all the magic is happening. So the Movidius chip that we use is actually enabled to do machine learning, AI. You have an open application, open API that you can connect to the different environments where it does people counting, object recognition, and so on. So there's a lot of things happening around the camera. So this is the camera. I brought one, so if you want to have a look afterwards, please let me know. I'll be more than happy to show a bit more of the product. There's a lot of things. It's 1080p, 150-degree angle, as you saw. So if I put it here, it will basically recognize everything or everyone in the room. 5 microphone array, up to 6-7 meters, clear speech, voice recognition. As I said before, AI powered, software upgradable. So you buy a camera today, it won't be the same in 6 months. And what comes more? There's a lot of things to do. So interesting thing to show, and I'm coming to the interesting part later on. Those are some of our strategic partners. So those are partners that have our camera embedded into their bundle. Microsoft, Zoom, Crestron, bigger in the United States, Yamaha. There's a lot of traction on it and it's growing. Why is this important in this structure or in this presentation? Hopefully everyone beginning to build a company will go through this. In the beginning you'll have flat structure. People wear different hats. People will do different things based on what they are used to work with. So you have person number A will choose those type of systems, person B will choose those systems. They will not correlate together, they will not work together because there's no direct need. Everyone will actually operate and it will kind of work till a certain extent. But then your product becomes known, you begin to ship more, hopefully there's success. You go into a more silo structure. That means that there is a structure in place, management, specialization, more correlation between the different departments, and there's a dependency on the different departments as well. That means that you need to be able to work in a structure that works for everyone without spending time, money, integrating different systems, right? So that brings me to the next slide. Is potentially one of the most important slides that I will show you today. Here you definitely see basically the past of how Huddly has worked, how they work today, and how they are going to work in the future. As you begin, as in the past, we have used a certain amount of modules in Odoo, while using a lot of different other ones. Like I said, it works till a certain extent, but the more you involve, the more you become dependent on the different departments, on the people, on the service that they provide, and the market that you're going to work with, you will phase out different systems. So as you can see, we have had a lot of different external platforms. Yeah, I'm not going to enumerate them all, but it is, as you can see, it's clear. We're at the moment fading out a lot of external services, and in the future we'll go full stack on Odoo because we see that there's a need to do so. It is all integrated, it is automated, it's linked together. You don't have to do much more external or connections with the different systems, which allows you to basically concentrate yourself on the customers, on your product, and basically gain revenue, right? And that's what you are supposed to be doing as a company, is to be successful. Yes.
Do you use the shop system from Odoo? Because I can see Shopify.
Yes. No. One of the things that we have seen from the beginning since the strategy is that it has shifted completely. We thought that we were going, the only thing that we knew, we're going to ship globally, and it's still the case today. However, we've seen that since that we've put the first product on the market, that the individual user case is actually not the one that is not the one that is being used. We thought that it would be. So the e-commerce environment is only representing 1.5% of our revenue. So we're not doing anything. So we have a product on Amazon. We're thinking of changing it because just to administrate Amazon is a lot of work. Well, we could do it simply with Odoo. However, the way we work today is more B2B, 2 strategic channels, distribution channels, and that makes it much easier to dispatch.
Selling your
yes,
partner?
yes, yes. And the goal would be then to have a partner portal, to have their services registered on those partner portals, have the certain amount of documentation, and they will be able to buy basically the product through that system, and that's why we're going full stack. So there's a lot of projects ahead. So it's a good thing for us. So yes, by the end. Odoo does offer us a lot of different solutions, which we have been really happy with so far. And over the last 3 years as well, we have seen a huge development on Odoo's side, which makes it or made it much easier for us as well to basically begin onboarding much more modules and to provide all that information into that system rather than using external systems. All right. So I touched a bit on this one. Why choosing Odoo? I believe I've heard it in one of the sessions today. One thing is potentially, again, a repetition, is you have everything in one system. Everything is related together. So that's I think the most important one. It's easy to use, accessible. The people that work behind Odoo are approachable, which is not always the case. I've worked with many different services before, and I can assure you that the people on Odoo are much more serviceable than other systems that I've used. But one other point as well is just the cost. It is 1/8 of the cost of any other systems, and it has to be mentioned, to be honest, because by the end, why pay for a service that costs you millions of thousands of Norwegian crowns or euros if you only use 10% of it, right? Here you have a system. You basically add what you need to add based on the usage, and you pay for what you use. I think it's a good system, and that's why Odoo is literally one of the systems that is on top of the list for us, and we'll definitely continue working with them. So I touched it. I come back to this one. I hope that I covered those points. So why is the know your go-to-market strategy one of the interest or the most important points? Is it will define what you need to use. We thought that we were going to do a lot of B2C, but we ended up doing 95% B2B on strategics, on distribution channels, and that means that your way of using a certain system is completely different, and it's just important. So before you go to your market, get to know your product and get to know who your actual market is, and adapt your system accordingly and prepare your system accordingly. I think that's the biggest point where we have struggled with over the last 3 years is the amount of systems. The time that you have spent to actually implement, develop, train, maintain, and think of the future service that you're going to provide to your customers. But if you're blocked at some point, you're going to be stuck. So that takes me to the last point. Don't be afraid to change your service. If you see that you are paying for a service and you only use a certain amount of percent on it, think twice. Put it on the table, pros, cons, and change automatically. Okay? And yeah, that's why big is not always better. We've used Salesforce, social boards, a lot of different systems. Don't be blinded by what they offer. They have very good salespeople, but once you begin using the service, once again, you might only use 10%. Okay? In Odoo, it's much easier. You can add accordingly. I've heard it so many times in the sessions here. You add in regards of what you use, and you pay for it. Yes?
One question. When did you introduce Odoo in your company? When did you start?
3 years ago. So we began with the inventory, the CRM.
Version 9 or 8?
I think it was 8. I'm not 100% sure. Yeah.
And so what was the biggest challenge in the past 3 years? And we have seen now?
It's basically different people working and getting a real structure in place. Like I said, 3 years ago, we were 15, 20 people doing different tasks, which means as well that those different people had different opinions, and they were their own kind of point to contact. So they were, okay, let's do this, let's launch it. And I was one of them, I must admit. But now there's a structure in place. That means as well that before you're actually launching something, you check with your colleagues, does this actually really work? And that's why we phase out all the external services, as kind of as simple as that, because we see that there is a good point to actually stay within one environment, and Odoo is the one that worked for us.
Yeah, the CEO is telling us, yes, please keep the standard, man.
Yeah.
Can you keep the standard?
It has improved because you can rely on a system, you can develop on a system, and what Odoo has actually provided us is they come with the new features along the road, which you might not be able to find in different systems because they're bigger. It's more difficult to get things actually through as a feature request. Here, I believe that because they have those modules which are very specialized and they're so easy to actually handle, that you can take full advantage of those different modules rather than having a whole product, only use 10%, trying to find if it has. And that makes it difficult to actually go forward. So that's why different modules and just the facility to add those different modules into your system.
So what ongoing challenge do you have? Is everything done now? Or?
No, there's always a challenge, otherwise it won't be fun, right? But no, the biggest challenge I think is to shut down. That's why don't be afraid to change your system, is to basically have those ideas clear, put them on the paper, talk with the guys in Odoo, make sure that you get them implemented correctly and take advantage of it. And then basically use that data in order to learn from it and work on the next step. And I guess it's for everyone that's working who is working basically, is to improve, to get that customer satisfaction, to improve the quality, and you'll never be 100%. So that's one. But yeah, I hope that answers kind of your question. Yes.
What did you do, because you worked with several other systems before?
Yes.
Recuperating your old data, historical data. Did you do that, or did you just start with a wide leaf and contacts?
Did I migrate my data from point A to B? Yes, till a certain extent. Depends on what data. If it becomes to financial data, obviously that's something that you need to migrate, right? Because you base yourself on something, you cannot just begin with a clean sheet and go with it. When it comes to customer data, leads, customers, etc., most of the cases it's always the same fields. So I've never had too many issues migrating the data. Yes, it takes time, but if it's done in a correct way, if the old system provider has the different functionalities in order to extract the data, So far, I have not had any issues with it. The biggest point I would say is in regards of ticket systems. When you have ticket systems, there's a lot of email notifications, internal comments, etc. Is that information important? Till a certain extent. Should I be able to find it back within 2 years? I believe so, because I have the obligation to do so. Do I actually do it? No, because how many times a case is closed, the case is closed. You shouldn't come back on it. But who knows, in 2 years, that customer might say, hey, I had case number XYZ. Yeah, okay, XYZ. If I can retrieve the data without having all the bling bling, I would say, I'm happy. So it depends on how much importance you have in the data that you want to export. For me, it's more important to have an important or correct migration or implementation than a migration. All right. Any more questions? Yes?
What do you use Jira for? And is it integrated with Odoo at all, or is it completely detached?
The integration will be done. It's because our engineering team is using Jira. The engineers have their own way of doing. Before I'm able to move them over to Odoo, it's another year or two because they're just used to it, as simple as that. Yes, Jira will be integrated from our help desk environment to Jira and vice versa, just for the facility of it. But it's a full sync. So if data is changed in Odoo, it will be changed in Jira and vice versa. It's just for the facility of it. So it's the commercial side of the company and the R&D side of the company. Right. Any more questions?
How big is your dev team?
It represents 70% of the company, and we're 80 today and still growing. 70%. So it's a big team. But within the team, you have basically hardware design, design itself, software, etc. So it's
Meaning the Odoo team in your company?
so we are around 30 users today on the Odoo. Yeah. Yes.
Just a functional question. I checked
Sure.
your diagram with the past, now, and the future.
Yes.
And you said that you set up inventory module and sales, but why did you not decide to also install purchasing straight away? Because purchasing is feeding the inventory.
Two different departments, unfortunately. So we have basically logistic department. So we have upstream and downstream, two different people. And as for now, they did simply not onboard any systems. That's all. That's it for now. I'll be around, so just don't hesitate to come to me. I'll be more than happy to answer the remaining questions. Thank you.
It's after lunch. Is anyone sleepy? Yes? That's always the danger. Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Greg Mader. I'm the president and CEO of Open Source Integrators. Patrick couldn't be here. They had some problems that unfortunately waylaid his trip. But they're a customer of ours, and I know their situation, and I'd love to tell you a little bit about it. So Pavlov Media is a regional telecom in the United States. And I'll get into this in a second, but they have a big need for field service management and dispatching repair crews and so forth. It was nice seeing Odoo's field service management stuff yesterday. This is a separate project, and this is released in the OCA, and I'm happy to talk about that as well at the end. So most of us know who Pavlov is. Has everyone heard the name Pavlov? Okay, what was he famous for?
Dogs.
What about the dogs?
They bark when they get something to eat.
Okay, he trained the hungry dogs to drool when he'd ring this bell, but the idea is that, let me find this here. Pavlov was actually in the seminary to become a priest when he stumbled over a science book, and he started taking classes in chemistry and eventually studied under Mendeleev, the guy who invented the periodic table. He really, had a life change based on that. He struggled in his early years as a scientist. He was poor, had outbursts that were not popular, but eventually kind of came up with this idea that conditioning wasn't just for dogs, but it was also for people too. And that turned out to be a breakthrough in psychology. Where it comes up with Pavlov Media was this idea of trying to use human behavior to come up with better media experiences. So there's actually something really interesting here. Mark Seifers, the founder and CEO of Pavlov, is a good friend of mine. He started with this idea as a student that off-campus housing and businesses could be connected by networks, and this was before Netscape even existed, so that you can see how long he's been at it. He started Pavlov Media in 1994. It's a large privately held telecom, and it's one of the premier providers of internet and video services for office buildings, student housing, apartment buildings, things like that. And that is what Mark looks like. At one point, when I met him, he dyed his hair lavender to be Pavlov purple. And it was a good look on him. He rocked it. He pulled it off. I could not have done that. So a little bit about them. Pavlov provides internet services in 44 states, at 170 universities, at 700 properties. There really is this sense of, back to a little bit of behavior, but trying to create an exceptional experience, even for something these days which we think of as kind of mundane, like telecom. And how does Pavlov do it? They do everything from, they have the easiest sign up, they make installation easier than anybody else, they make it easy for someone to pay to continue their internet. And here's a little secret that I think I can tell. They exceed, if you buy like 100 megabits, you're not going to get 100 megabits, you're probably going to get 200 or 300. The incremental cost of giving someone more speed or better service is nothing, and Pavlov uses this as an advantage to delight their customers. So once you're on a Pavlov circuit, you're very happy and you never want to go from it. We just moved our building in Arizona from one place to another. You see the star there. That, unfortunately, that's not me. I wanted Pavlov gig service at our new office. I couldn't get it, and I complain to Mark every time I see him. So how many people is this? It's over almost 200,000 different people are Pavlov customers here now. Okay. So a little bit about what it means to be a Pavlov customer. If you are a university or an office, or let's say a commercial office space, this would be the process that Pavlov would work with you on. So they'd start with designing and engineering a system for your building, giving you a complete quote, being able to make sure there weren't dead spots and that there'd be enough bandwidth for the expected number of people. And after that, then there's the building phase, which they have their own in-house electricians and technical staff that build out these systems. Pavlov then can do third-party monitoring, and in fact they do for most of these, so they'll operate the system. And lastly, deal with support issues like what if someone cut the cable going through the parking lot or whatever. Based on this, Pavlov also has some advantages that they are at the top level of the internet where they're in a peer-to-peer system with the other big internet players. So they're peered with 18 of the top 20 US websites by traffic volume. Google, Facebook, YouTube. How many of you are Netflix people? How many of you have Netflix at home? Everybody? Does anybody not have Netflix? A couple of people, okay. How many racks or how many servers do you think that Netflix needs to be able to have their entire catalog? 5 what? 5 racks?
Yes.
Filled? Okay, any other guesses? Come on, gotta have a guess. 2. Lorelei, do you have a guess? How many racks?
96.
Okay, the actual answer, it's in about a 5U cabinet stuffed with drives, but you know, takes up just a fraction of 1 rack. That ought to tell you how much. And the other thing about Netflix is they put these all over the place in different data centers at this peer level so that everybody is just a few hops away from a Netflix server. Really interesting stuff. A little bit about their services. Internet, video, voice, and office. I think we talked about this, but you can get up to 10,000 megabits delivered on fiber these days, and beyond that you need multiple fiber, but it's pretty cool stuff. So we're gonna get into the Odoo situation here in a second, but there's this growing demand for bandwidth. And you think about how you use the internet now. You know, what's the bandwidth you expect from these? We're all expecting 5G now, right? And that was one of the initial drivers for this. And you can look at this, that around 2013, we were still thinking like 100 megabits or so was like the best internet we could have. The demand now is that people are expecting they're expecting like gig level at their homes now. How many of you have gig at your home, one way or another? Nobody. How many of you have 100 megabit at home? Okay. Anybody above 100 megabit? No? Okay. In the US, you can get gig fiber to your home now. Not everywhere, but some places. But you look at why this is. You know, the number of paying Spotify customers has just gone up exponentially. Netflix is a huge driver. There's any number of reasons. So Pavlov had this situation of they were growing rapidly, just huge exponential growth to support the content and bandwidth needs of what people are asking for and expecting. But that gets to how do you deal with the field service management aspect of delivery, service, implementation, break fix, all these other sorts of things. This is a heat map of several thousand of the buildings served by Pavlov field service teams. They do use both employees and contractors to serve their customers, but you get an idea of you know, how disparate, how big of a geography this is to be able to have field service management crews out there. So you need a real field service management system to be able to manage this amount of work. This is not something that one person who's dispatching approximately 5 or 10 workers can do on their own. This needs hardcore automation. So they were a Microsoft Dynamics Great Plains user for many years. And it wasn't meeting their needs. And they really were looking for something that was more, at a better price point, but more flexible, more complete, and more free. Since they were on Great Plains, there is this migration that that Microsoft is promoting, where you have to go on to Microsoft SaaS provided AX, which is Microsoft Dynamics 365. With that, they really couldn't justify it for the reasons they're talking about, including this requirement to have the solution on-prem. They really don't, even though they're an internet cloud-based company, they have all the internet connections and bandwidth they could ever need. Why would they pay to have it hosted at somebody else's location? So getting to this, the flexibility aspect. Although Dynamics can be customized, Odoo is just that much more flexible. It's incredibly customizable. Even with enterprise modules, you get the source code and you can extend that enterprise module or do something you want with it. Odoo's multi-company advantage makes a difference. And lastly, the community support was something that was really important to Pavlov. They like the idea of being part of a bigger ecosystem and working with others and making something great together. So let's get into field service management. Everybody here is probably familiar with the Odoo start screen. We've added a new module here, the field service management module. And we'll talk about some of the applications that are related to this here in a second. This is different from the one that Fabian just announced yesterday. That's okay. We're not competing. It's different markets. So all the things we touch, we had to really think about this. We have to touch maintenance, employees for staff scheduling, projects, purchases, the calendar, another custom module for agreements, which are the specialized contracts that are used. I think you get the idea. So we really did touch everything and had to add a few more modules too. Within the FSM order, any of you ever seen SAP's plant management system? Yes. You're going to recognize a little bit of this as some of the ideas that we thought were good that we adopted here. So SAP PM, rocking it in the back there. So that's cool. But this idea of there is an order for a maintenance job, for example, and there's some statuses of new, confirmed, requested, and you may request more, or if you're using contract workers, that's where that comes in, where you may need to request several contract workers to come and do a break fix or an installation, and you may only choose one of them. So then it's assigned, scheduled, en route, and what's the other one? Started and completed. So here we have an order tentatively scheduled, and one joke that we put in here based on us is, okay, is looking at the date for the Europeans here, is that the 7th of March or is that the 3rd of July? Okay. We think of that as the 3rd of July. Okay. Inventory management on the order. We needed to have a way of managing the inventory at local warehouses as well as individual service trucks. When the job is completed, the accounting fields will be populated and reviewed by accounting. And this is kind of a sub-status for, within this order for being able to manage financial transactions. In this case, we just have like one power strip that needs to be delivered here to that specific job. So from here, there's this idea of worker skills, and this turns out to be incredibly important for real big industrial grade field service management. To my person who's used PM in the past, do you remember keeping track? Yes, all the skills that specific staff have to have. It may be like there's safety certifications or equipment certifications that need to be addressed so that you dispatch the right worker to the right job and you do so efficiently without creating headaches. This can only happen by having some sort of skills management database as part of this. We had to work up a timeline view for capacity planning and reliability, reliable scheduling as well. So with staff, there's this idea of who's available, what projects they're on, and having a visual planner. This is also tied to some algorithmic optimization too. And you probably know this. I was going to ask the question, but I'll ask it this way. Does anybody think you want your field service crews scheduled 100%? No, why not? I'm going to pick on you. Why wouldn't you? Correct. It's sick time. It's, you know, they might, one job might take a little bit longer, so you need a little bit of flexibility. Or worst case, you might have high priority break fix tickets that come in, and you might have to rejuggle this on the fly. In fact, you're wanting to schedule your people as efficiently as possible, but with the capacity based on some overage that's available for emergencies or problems that come up throughout the day. And there are plenty of algorithms around this. The company that probably spent the most time in the early days figuring this out was Schindler Elevator. And you can imagine why. Because if an elevator breaks and there's people stuck on it, you don't want to leave people on that elevator for more than a few minutes. You need to have technicians that can roll pretty quickly and respond to it. So every industry is going to be different based on what they believe their reliability and outage might be. Okay, I'm going to pretend I'm Patrick for a second while I talk about these slides. No, I'm not. I can't do it. They teamed with us to do a detailed requirements workshop to make sure that we got input from all the departments. Based on that, we evaluated core functions and the gaps and identified the need to expand the field service management network. We ended up publishing 20 FSM modules to the OCA. It went live in July, just a few months ago, and they're using it happily, and good results. One thing that I think is kind of important here to the gap analysis, is there a number in your head of what you think the fit should be in order to go forward with a specific software? Does anyone, what percentage should work out of the box or with community modules or configuration of requirements? Anybody have a guess? And Jay, you can't talk because you and I know we've talked about this before. Does anybody have a guess what that percentage should be of fit out of more or less? What? 80%. Any other numbers?
60?
60. Who said 60? Okay. Any other guesses? Sabina?
78%.
78%. Very precise. Okay. Where did you get 80?
Because I'm working in development company for some our modules and let's say at least 80% should be.
Okay, so somewhere in your business and experience, you came to that number. Research and literature has shown that's the right number. It's exactly 80%. That if you can't do 80% of the project somehow out of the box, there's no Odoo consultants in here, are there? No? Okay, I want to ask them what they think the number should be. But if you can't, oh, there's one, okay, 80%, yes or no? 90 for Odoo consultants, okay. But if you can't do it, research has shown projects that go over 80% or go under 80% for out of the box and over 20% customization are projects that have problems. Budget, schedule, expectations, everything is going to be a lot harder. Okay. Field service, okay, this is Pavlov, not Greg talking. I love the OCA, but I love Odoo and I love everybody, so I have no dog in this fight. But the FSM modules are available on the OCA, and there is a really cool mobile app that I'm happy to talk to you about, because field service management these days, when I first started in field service management technology, we would hand drivers like a stack of papers like this with everything they were supposed to do that day. Nobody expects that anymore. It must be mobile enabled. So happy to talk to you about that afterwards. Some benefits, operational insight and efficiency for all levels of the organization, better utilization of the resources, optimized scheduling and assignment where we're not making mistakes of sending the wrong person back to that who's unqualified for that particular job, accurate billing, and really happy customers. Again, that's the whole Pavlov deal, is delight your customers and make it the best experience so that they want to stay with you. A few more benefits. Odoo's lower cost licensing, tracking and tracing of all items, costs, and revenue has really been important. Better KPIs that we can manage for on-time performance of service calls, again, back to delighting our customers. And time savings through better ordering, manufacturing, and inventory processes too. Some next phases. We're going to start on the break fix and completion reporting. It's already there, but we want to come up with some great reports for it. Mobile documents that we can have customer signatures on, which up to this point we have some simplified things, but we want to take it further. The parts and equipment inventory management, a big thing, auto notification about when they can expect their service tech. Nobody wants to wait around all afternoon for the service tech to come to their house. How many of you have had that happen? Did you enjoy that? No? Not too much. You? No? Okay. Ideally, I think it's a 90-minute window. I think that's what we should try to optimize for, is we should be able to give a customer in the morning, knowing all the emergencies and everything else, a 90-minute window of when they can expect a service tech to come. So, those are, I want to stay within the limits of the time. What questions do you have for me? I'm happy to take some questions. None? It is, okay, yes sir.
Did you go with their mobile native app, or you went with their mobile optimized front end?
It's a mobile native app on Android and iPhone. The next steps that we're going into this is also having you know, I don't want to harsh on anything. I saw the map integration in Odoo's field service management, but there's the next level of optimization as well. If you're dealing with multiple trucks and multiple locations, you also need to be able to redispatch on the fly from one truck to the other, and then recalculate your routes and re-optimize as you go. And all that's going to be part of the mobile solution that we're going to roll out. We've rolled it out in part, and we're going to roll out more of it here shortly. What other questions? It is the after lunch thing. Everybody has lower energy after lunch. What else? There's got to be something. Yes, sir?
Is there any functionality that they missed when they left the old platform?
Microsoft Dynamics. There's always this thing with accounting in particular where they're used to reports and layouts of certain things. And more than any other group I've ever seen, accountants are concerned about, that doesn't look like it used to look. So we did what we always do, which was, that's okay, show me how you liked it in the old system, and we'll make it look the same way in Odoo. So that's how we address that.
Did you transfer the data from Dynamics to Odoo?
What's that?
Did you
migrate the data from
Yes, we migrated the data from Dynamics to Odoo. It was the funnest thing I've ever done. I would migrate data every day, all day, because I love doing it so much. Just a little bit of sarcasm, not too much. Okay. Yes, sir.
How long it took to the full migration from the Linux to?
For Pavlov, it ultimately took us about 9 months. We could have done it in a little bit less time, but we also had to be, as the integrator, we always end up pushing our customers a little bit, and we can go a little bit faster. We had to wait for them to be ready and have like a natural break in their schedule to be able to do it. So could have been 7 months, took 9 months. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Because Dynamics interface is very complicated thing and stuff like this, do you have some measurement or how much hours or time you save to the users of like the employees?
Give me a couple months and I want to do exactly that. Yeah, because I agree. Microsoft Dynamics GP, Great Plains, anybody used it? You know it? No es bueno. It's not good, man.
Great pain.
Yes.
GP is great pain.
Great pain. Okay. Anything else, guys? I got a couple more minutes before she tells me to turn it off. So, what else? Sabina.
What's the frequency, Kenneth?
800 hertz. So, okay. Anything else? You guys, thank you. This has been really fun. Appreciate it. Okay, there we go. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Greg Mader. I'm president of Open Source Integrators. I'm standing in for Max, who's doing very important things elsewhere in the building. I'm going to talk a little bit here about management of deferred revenues, subscriptions, and some advanced contract topics here too. I was asking earlier, but you know, about how many people here would be interested in financial accounting, and again, raise your hands. I want to get a percentage. I love accounting. No? Yes? Okay. This is very much an accounting sort of problem. And with it, there's some things that we've learned and a module that we've shared here with the community. So how many of you are familiar with the existing tools that Odoo has for deferred revenues or subscriptions? Any of you played with those? Yes? Yes. Okay. They're pretty good. They do a lot of things really well, but there are some limitations or complications. How many, are you a functional consultant or? Sales. Okay, so you're like showing it to customers and, okay, cool. When you think of this, there is a bit of a cycle to it. It's a sales cycle, but there's a bit that's a little different to it. So you do have this idea of the sale, invoicing, receipt of payment, but this is where it starts to get a little bit different right here, is this idea of balances, and either positive or negative balances that you're trying to manage, statements back, and ultimately there is usually collections that's part of this too. So there's a sense of this that is a little bit different from your typical sale right off the bat, right? So this is where I think we want to talk a little bit about Odoo out of the box. So I'm going to pick on you in sales maybe a little bit, maybe not too much. But some things you need to make it work. And this is where some training of customers comes in, is this idea of, okay, you do need like a beginning date and an end date, that you are calculating monthly invoices, that there's always a customer balance, again, positive or negative. And to this last point that I do want to touch on is revenue recognition, which in the US has some very specific, and other Anglo-Saxon accounting countries, and I suspect a little bit different in the Rhine accounting style. But those, you may have collected $100 from a customer today, or €100, but when can you actually recognize the different components of that? Can you recognize all €100 today, or do you have to spread that out over some number of months based on their subscription? So that's an important thing that the subscription module handles, but you, again, kind of have to have the right data. If you get like indeterminate end dates, or maybe the customer's making multiple small payments or whatever, and you have to track that, that's where things can get complicated here. Within Odoo, it is the easiest thing to set up, right? You just click on Deferred Revenues Management and Configuration, and you have the basics of this functionality, which I guess, again, this is what you show a customer, and they say, I got it, I can go, everything's here, and most of it is. So when you set up a monthly subscription, there's some basic things that go into it, right? You do need to describe the periodic nature, how many entries, how often the entries are made. You do need a separate account for deferred revenue, the recognition income account, and the recognition account and deferred revenue account in the Anglo-Saxon way generally are the same. And I don't think it's the same in like France or Belgium or Spain. I think that would be set up a little bit differently. Okay. Where's Anthony LeSuisse when I need him? Because he should be here for this. I want to talk to him about this, so. Okay. So when you put all that in, you start to see, you come to this next form. You have a monthly subscription, the deferred revenue, Again, the quantity, all of this to get to this basic sales order, right? This basic invoice. And then you see this, which is actually the breakdown of the cumulative revenue, what you're charging per month, and finally this kind of burn down. Odoo's calling it residual, and that's a perfectly good name, but it's a burn down of what that initial payment was or what the initial contract value was, and what's remaining on it. So this works really well for a lot of simple things. Let's talk about some advanced cases. And what we have here, how many of you saw the talk I just gave here a few minutes ago with Pavlov Media? Yes, yes, yes. Arthur, your name? Louisa, great name, love it. Okay. They are in the business of providing telecommunications, fiber optic and bandwidth to a number of buildings. And that's going to be a little bit different, where they have to have an agreement with the building owner, and they also have to have individual agreements with the residents or office users or other people that might be in those buildings. So with that, what works a little bit differently here is that we do have to have like a contract. That's kind of the big thing, and that contract is going to define what the agreement is, and it may not be in kind of an even this percentage per month. It may be so much prepaid, so much during the month, and then so much at the end or as a residual. And there's also things that go into it like service level agreements and guaranteed availability. Any of you ever have to deal with service level agreements? I like to ask questions. Nobody here has a, yes, one SL. Was it fun to manage? No? Yes? Okay. You're the only person I know who's ever said that SLAs are fun to manage. So with this, we had to come up with a more flexible understanding of what an agreement is. So again, we have a start date and an end date, but notice we're also having to have like termination request date, termination date, expiration notice, a few other things to calculate this in a more sophisticated way. And this would be something you'd have with like a building owner that you were providing services to, or some other bigger contract. With this as well, we actually use the power of Odoo to really think about, okay, what goes into an agreement. And there's some legal things that are very common. So recitals in American law are kind of the first part of the contract where it just says, Odoo SA in collaboration with so-and-so. So kind of the standard boilerplate of the contract goes into the recitals. We have a name and some different templates for it here. The sections are very specific to the specific product line or service that they're offering. And finally, the clauses are a lot of those SLA clauses, like guaranteed 99.9% uptime versus guaranteed 99.999. And what are those? Are there penalties or entitlements that are associated with that too? That's where this turns out to be pretty important, is actually based on a lot of SLAs, there is like some sort of negotiated, what they call entitlement. So if I'm down more than such a percent, I'm going to get a credit of 25 euro per day towards my next bill. So that's what needed to be tracked in all these contracts here. We're also tracking signatures, and we have used the Odoo signatures module, the different products and services, any follow-up agreements or child agreements, and I did say SLAs, so we're tracking the performance there too. The beautiful thing is this just fits in kind of the normal Odoo Kanban view. as we're doing these agreements, we are just proposing them through, making adjustments. It's nothing that sophisticated or hard when it actually gets out there, but it solves a real need. This is released in the App Store, and it's available to everybody out there that might want to use it. I'm happy to take questions about. This is actually Louisa, this is my simplest presentation I've done this whole time. So any questions? This is really, you gotta love it. You either love this or you're not interested. So for a lot of people, this is not gonna be like a broadly applicable topic. Yes, sir?
Is that linked, for example, you have mentioned about the availability and special terms inside the contract itself. Do I have this field also in the products? Can I link this in the product so automatically when I select this product, it will have the special terms?
Yes.
I'm selling like gold SLA, gold level, or silver, whatever, you know, the three terms that we usually.
Yeah, usually like silver, gold, platinum, whatever. Yeah, so the question, I'm taking Arthur's advice, repeat the question back and then answer it. So what if you want to have different SLAs that were available as part of this product? Yes, absolutely, we can configure so that you have like a silver, gold, and platinum SLA level. And with the bigger part of the project, we're actually starting on the dashboards and KPIs for managing and tracking that in our next phase with this customer. Because it's not enough to have an SLA. If you're the one who's providing that SLA, you also do need to track it to make sure that you're not going to lose money on bad service or whatever, right?
And this is another question. When we create the SLA, you mean the same SLA exists in the help desk, right?
Yes. The question is, does the same SLA, once we create it, also exist in the help desk? Yes, it's available in the ticket management and help desk side too, so that we can all see what the problem is, and that's where we are going to have the tools for managing and tracking KPIs. Yes. What else? This is like, to a few people, the most exciting thing ever, but to a lot of people, this is like, okay, thanks for telling me, and I'm mildly interested. So, yes, sir.
So if you're going to run more of a service-based model, say with a rate card, right? Would that go in one of those tabs then?
Tell me about it. So like, two pounds per.
Programmer is, I don't know, $100 an hour. PM is $200 an hour, whatever it may be.
Sure. So truly like a labor services rate card.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm glad I understand it. That could easily be added to this, and it's not something we've had to do at this iteration, but I can see actually the purpose of it, because there may be like additional services that a customer might want that would be, so they come out on a service call, but then they might say, can you move this or change this around? And the right answer is to say, yes, we can, and then be able to offer like a quick services thing that comes as part of it. So that would probably be on our field service management applications that we've written.
But would you not actually bring it, because quite often the rate card is specified as part of the contract, so wouldn't you actually bring it as be a schedule to the contract normally?
I haven't been asked this, but what you're saying makes complete sense. So yeah, I get it.
Okay, next one, retainers. So if you have a retained payment, and then you draw down against that retainer?
We're doing that with just out-of-the-box Odoo accounting, and there's some gaps in it, which I think you're getting to, of like, so a retainer prepaid amount, and actually then doing a correct drawdown. You needed 1 hour from me today, and then you go away for a month, and then next month you need like 2 whole days. This is something in our own internal shop we're doing with just standard Odoo, but we've talked about trying to build exactly that tool that you're talking about.
But again, it's usually specified in the contract.
It usually is, yeah.
Okay. And then the recitals piece, you were sort of implying that that's, you said it's boilerplate, so is that pattern paragraphs that you're actually putting in?
For our customer, yes, that's what they're doing, is they have like several different, depending on the states they operate in, each state may have some different recitals that are appropriate to it, and they are rather boilerplate.
So you may actually pull in GDPR, standard language, for example, or something around data information security or something.
Yes.
And pull that in. And then once you've done that, are you actually then going to generate a document that then is your contract?
Yes, and we've done this for a few customers where we're using some cool stuff in Odoo to actually generate contracts that are specified by whatever user needs are out there.
Okay. And
yeah.
my final question.
Please.
Once you've done all that, is that then pulling forwards into your client billing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. We've got customers in Texas and Illinois that it's all about to your point, that workflow of building a contract for the specific needs, and then taking that contract, getting signatures, storing it, and then that provisions the billing operations that come with it for the rest of the life cycle. Absolutely. Cool. What else? Yes, sir.
How you are handling the prices of the products? Are they newly added as another price list, or how you make sure that later when I have an order which is from this customer, then he will get the right price which exists in his contract?
Sure. At this point, the customers are not generally getting guaranteed prices for the hardware, which would be the products in here. So Pavlov is like an ISP, and if you were to buy like a Cisco router from them, you're going to get whatever their price is plus the 15% or whatever. That isn't to say that's the right answer, but that's the way they've been doing it up till now. That hasn't been something that's specified in their contracts. And you look at, if anything, network gear, if anything, the price pressure is downwards. So I'm not sure that's going to change where customers are going to want to lock in a price for network gear, knowing that tomorrow it's always going to be cheaper than it is today. It's been our experience. That may be one of the most competitive technology sectors I can think of as network hardware. So I didn't give you a great answer, but that's how they're doing it. What other questions? I'm holding your attention way better than I thought with this topic. So is there anything I'm missing that you want to talk about?
Actually, the signatures.
Yeah.
Talking about the signatures. Is that in different countries? Is it valid, or how does that work exactly? Or your signatures that you're talking about?
Sure. We're using the Odoo signature module to capture just signatures. So the e-sign technology, Fabian showed it yesterday morning. It's nothing super spectacular, but you have to store it and be able to produce it if you're ever asked. Okay. Which these days, I think actually, considering how everyone scratches with a touchpad or whatever, it's not the best.
That's what I was thinking myself in my head.
But there's enough, in any of these e-signature programs, they always have enough things that you have to tick off to be able to take it to court and be able to defend yourself with it. So, okay, what else? Yes, sir.
I was looking at the GitHub repository of OCA in the contract. I see a set of modules prefixed with agreements and another set with the contract. What's the difference between them?
That's where it should have been Max who is here today instead of me, and he would have been able to give you a better answer for that. If you find me or Max upstairs, I'll see what we can do to help you unscramble that. But I don't think I've ever had anyone look at a GitHub repository in the middle of a presentation before. So thumbs up to you, that's really cool. What else?
Yes, please. I wasn't here at the start of your presentation, but I'd like to know if it can be used for lease agreements.
It could, and you know, there's lease agreements depending on where you're at have different rules about. A friend of mine who got a house or an apartment in Dubai years ago told me he had to prepay like the whole year of rent at the beginning of the lease, and then he didn't have to pay for the rest of the time he was there. But I think standard Odoo, it might be such that standard Odoo subscriptions would work for cases like that. I think where it gets more difficult is things like prepayments or security deposits. And this could be adapted for things like security deposits or whatever pretty easily, I think.
When there are options for the lease agreement.
Yeah.
Someone is leasing a flat and he can take furniture with it. It's a special card.
It's a different price?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I think this would be a good starting point for building more on top of it like that, yes. What else? Sir?
I'll keep it going. So is this the contracts module that we're looking at here?
This is our agreements module that we have posted up on GitHub in the OCA.
So do you actually track billing against the contract?
It goes to the billing module and more of it's handled there. So we're not.
So I couldn't look in here and see what the billing today would be?
Not in this module. It would be in the other module over there.
But the
Yeah.
agreement details would be in there?
Yes.
You're actually tracked by the agreement?
Yeah.
Okay. And that granular level that you have in that agreement?
I'd have to go. This is again where I wish Max was here next to me. So if you see Max, you tell him he should have been here to give the talk. Cool. What else?
The contracts that you have in there, they're basically the boilerplate that you're talking about. That's standard for individual countries, or
In the U.S., so this was built for a U.S. market, and it would be by state. So Illinois would have different rules than Minnesota or Texas. And they're all similar, but there's differences. Like Illinois, maybe it's regulated by the Public Services Commission, the PSC. And in some states, telecom, like I live in Arizona, telecom is completely unregulated by the local state. There's federal rules, but there's no state rules about it, which I found out when I had to use an internet. We just moved buildings, and I ended up with an internet provider that is providing me gig fiber, but not at great quality, and I'm unhappy with them, and I can't do anything about it.
right.
Yeah. So
for your own country, like here in Belgium, you would just have to get your.
you'd have to, yeah. Your legal verbiage and contract structure is going to be different than, I'm guessing like Portugal or Ireland. It'll all be a little different. What else, guys? Okay. This turned out to be way more of a lively group around this subject than I thought, so thank you very much. I appreciate everybody coming in for this. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
We'll have more details.
Hello? Okay. Hello everybody. So today I will present to you how Nibu implemented a car sharing company into Odoo. So the agenda is to explain a bit what is Zencar. Zencar is our customer. What they did before going with Odoo, why they choose Odoo, what's the conclusion of the implementation of the project, and what was the big challenges we met and other questions. And if you have any question after that, I will be pleased to answer you. So Zencar, what is Zencar? First of all, they had the B2C approach. That means they created a mobile application. They had cars in the street, electric cars, and they allow people to rent it, to book the cars on their phone, to be able to use it. But it was, and it's still only round trip. So you rent the car and you have to get it back to the point you rented because it was electric, so you have to connect it and to reload it. They use paper emails to do the booking. They have a white label app to do it. And it was quite complicated and it was not that working. So they decided to change the approach, to change the business model, and they said, okay, let's try to go B2B. So what was the idea? Is to contact companies that want to reduce the fleet or even remove the fleet, to have shared cars that employee can book, so they can use the car during the day to see customers, and during the evening or the night they can book it too, but for a small fee, and then the company can really extract the value of the car. So you have cars that are used all the time and not just when only one employee needs it. Even for companies that want to do that, if the car is not used during the night, they can allow public people to rent it and to pay the company that rent the car to Zen, so they can bring more business and more values to the car. So they came to us to do that in Odoo. So we had to do many things. One was to implement the full management of the cars and the fleet in Odoo. So we enhanced the fleet management to be able to plan the cars, to connect it to fleet manager, to fleet vehicle, to allow customers of Zencar to be fleet manager. We had to create a full platform, a public platform, like a second website on Odoo. So you have the portal. We create a fleet manager portal where the customer of Zencar, the direct customers of Zencar, were allowed to connect and to create the planning for the cars. That means I'm Nibu, I rent a car to Zen, I have access to the portal, I see my car and I can say, okay, during the week I allow my employee to use my car, but during the evening I say, okay, my employee can pay a small fee to use the car and the public can pay a bigger fee so they can also use the car. That's the fleet management system in Odoo. So what you see here, it's the second portal we did. So you can see that you see the bookings. That's the page for the cars. You see the cars. You can see if they are plugged. You can see the status. You have also your drivers, because you have your own drivers. So you can say, this person is a driver from my company. So it's your employee. You can say they pay less. And you see also the drivers that are public that used your car, but you don't see the other drivers. You can plan, so like I said, do the template for when the people can use the car or not, pricing, and you have car groups and user groups. For the moment it's really simple, but we are still working on implementing new functionalities. We also did application, because we had to connect the public to the system. And you don't want people to go on your website to rent the car. So we created an app, Android and iOS. To do so, we use React Native. So we had only one logic to implement, and after that it was easy to build it in both systems. So in the application, you can see the cars available for you. You can book a car, see your bookings, and when you approach the car, you can even open the car with the application. That's the Odoo part of the fleet management system. It means that's what Zencar sees. So Zencar has access to all the fleet, like you can guess, and here you can see a booking. So a booking is basically a sale order, a simple sale order, when you can see there is a vehicle, there is a start date, an end date, a duration, and I specifically choose this view because you see the applied slots. And here we can see that for this booking, we used a slot where the employee pay a fees by minutes, and after that we use another slot where the employee pay another fee. So that's how we compute all the sale order, because as you can guess, when you book a car, you don't know which slot you are in. So if I book a car from 4 to 10, I will maybe be on different slots. And that was one of the difficult parts, to merge all the slots, to know if you are public at that time or if you are an employee at that time. It was quite a good, quite a challenge to compute all the price on the fly. Okay, the problem before Odoo was they was only with emails and access, so they managed the booking of the cars with an app, but for all the billing and for the internal management, they were only using emails and Excel, so the billing, the amortization, accounting was quite complicated. For the fleet management, they use a white label product, but they were really limited because as it was a product, they were not able to change the way it works. So they were completely locked in the system, and they wanted to evolve. The part I said, like for the B2B solution, they were completely blocked because the product they bought was only oriented to B2C business model. That's why they came for Odoo. Because it was highly flexible, we can do pretty much anything they want. So we construct a solution for them, a solution we think we can reuse for in the future if they want to. But today it's really designed for them. Now they have new big customers that ask a lot of new features, and we can build it. It was less expensive than other solution on the market, but that you know, because we are at the Odoo experience. And it was easily connected to mobile app. Why? Because Odoo itself is just a big API for the technical guys in the room. Okay, the conclusion of the project. Today, they have a solution, a complete fleet management system. The apps are almost in production. As you know, it's not easy to put apps on the stores, iOS stores and Android stores. So it takes time. But we met some challenge, like connecting the app to the box cars, the boxes in the cars. They wanted to use the Bluetooth system, so it was quite difficult to manage because the Bluetooth are really secured. You can not open the app, the cars like that. So that was one of the big challenge. In Odoo, that was quite easy because Odoo, like I said, is a big API. So connecting Odoo to a car, to the box in the cars or to the mobile was really, really easy. If you have such problem, you can just come to us. We will discuss it because it's really, really easy to do. One of the big pain was to import data because they had a lot of previous data, but really in different shape, in Excel, in different files. So that took the most of the time for the Odoo part. It was really a a cool project because there are new technologies. We used, like I said, the React Native. Now you have to know that connecting React Native to Odoo is really simple. The only problem we met with React Native is when you have to do the design of the app, you met a lot of difference between the two systems. So you will always spend a lot of time changing and transforming your application to match the customer requirement. So I would still advise to use it because our logic is the same in the two systems, but we spent too much time just designing the application. Okay, today the result is they have a full fleet management system, almost the mobile app. I think the product is quite duplicable, and I would like to do a verticalization, but we will see with them if they want to expand and to see if there is market in another place than Belgium. Okay, thank you. Do you have any questions?
How long did the project take?
Too long. It took like 3 months they were really in the urge, but it took 3 months. But the major problem was the mobile app. Connecting the mobile app to a different system, like not to Odoo. Odoo was quite simple, like I said, but connecting to the boxes, connecting to the payment system was quite difficult. So it took really a long time just to make the app running.
So you do the system, what you compare your system with Uber or some of the cash sharing companies?
It's really different because I don't know Uber for business, but if you take the one you have on your phone for particular, it's really not the same. It's oriented to companies. It's really made for a company that want to reduce the fleets. But you can use it like Uber. The only problem is you have to always come back to your point. So I don't think for the big public it would be interesting. It would be interesting for companies or for neighborhood from the companies. Imagine you are a neighbor of Nibu, and we have 2 cars in front of our office. You could be in a group in our system, and we could say, okay, when our neighbor want to rent the car, they can do at such price, and you can use it, and you come back to your place with the car. So it's really a specific business model. I don't think it would match an Uber, because Uber is, you take everything. You can go from everywhere to everywhere. It's more close to a Drive Now. I don't know if you know Drive Now in Belgium. It's a system where you can rent a car from anywhere to anywhere, but in a city. It's quite the same, but here again, the problem is you have to do a round trip and come back to the same point you started. It's really for companies. If you own your company, it's really cool to provide cars for your employees that have to go to a customer. They go and they come back. At least you don't have to pay a full car for them, and you can start a more ecological way to run your company. If you combine that with bikes and things like that, it starts to be really practical, because if you have to go far, at least you have cars to do so, but you don't have to have 1 car per employee. Yes?
Did people own the cars, or they have financed?
Sorry?
Did they finance the cars, or they have bought them?
You mean Zenka? I think they finance them. It's leasing. It's full lease cars, but I'm not completely sure.
The idea why, because how that was handled from a depreciation perspective, from buying the product or then selling it to the bank and then buying it back and add it to the asset. You know, managing the fleet itself as a fixed asset is a headache in this case. If you want to sell it, you want to finance it.
Yeah.
You need to keep track of the finance contract. You need to keep track of your payment, the assets, and you need to
It was not part of the scope. So the accounting was part of the scope, but so they stopped using in the different system. So they do the accounting in Odoo now, since 2 months now. But this part specifically is still done by hand. So they have an accountant that do all the reconciliation and all the assets management, and they put it in accounting in Odoo. But yeah, I mean the calculation and the rest is done by hand for the moment. They made us develop other things, but for the moment, their priority is to make the fleet management system works. But I'm quite sure if they start to run, we will do more and more in accounting, because yes, they need a lot of things in assets management. But for the moment, it's outside the system.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how much of it is standard and how much of it is customized?
About what?
Whatever you have given to Zencard.
It depends. If you talk about the full Odoo project, yeah, a big part is standard, because we didn't touch really on Odoo. But if you talk about the fleet management system, I mean, we only use the vehicle and the fleet that's in Odoo. The rest is quite handmade, because it's really specific. If you connect to the boxes, a part of the API to create booking or sales orders, we had to change it. But when we can use part of Odoo, we do it, like booking or sale order. So we only extend model that already exist. We use vehicle, we use sale order, invoices. I mean, for the standard flow, it's really pure Odoo. But when you add boxes, device to connect, mobile, that's fully custom.
And these services is a part of Odoo? Like the vehicles, they also need services, right? Periodic servicing. So is that something which is also taken care on Odoo, or is it again done separately outside the system?
Sorry, I didn't.
So the service, the vehicles that goes out on rent, right? So they will also need periodic servicing after say X number of rides or X number of kilometers. So does that include?
It's a good question. We did not manage that today, because for the moment.
Odoo Fleet, you have something for servicing, like, but that again is not something which can be used for a rental marketplace.
No.
So how does the scheduling works? Like, as an owner, can I rent it on Zencard as a car owner?
So as an owner of
can I list my car on Zencard?
Yeah. So the idea is, if you are a company, you rent a car to Zencard. So you have cars in front of your office. You can, and from then you pay like €700 every month, let's say. And from then you can just choose what you do with the car. You can provide it to your employee freely.
So, and I also get an option to manage the scheduling.
But you also can manage the scheduling and put some fees.
Scheduling is done on Odoo?
Yeah,
or
fully on Odoo.
So for that you are using the calendar and...
No.
So how do you do the scheduling part of it? Like, which hour I want my car to be available for other people to book? So where and how do I do that?
We created a full system for them, because they wanted something really specific.
So it's a custom development altogether?
Yeah, complete custom development. Okay, thank you. It's okay. Okay, sorry. Other questions?
What did you do with the hardware or the scheduling? The hardware that you control the asset of the car and the complicated Odoo and so on?
Excuse me, can you repeat the question? It's about hardware?
Yes, the box that you say.
Yeah.
How the box communicate with Odoo and communicate with
Okay.
mobile app to accept the
So boxes are supplied by another partner. So because we are not specialized in that.
But you give them the specification.
No. They give us the specification. So they supply the box. It's sad. I have. If you want to see one, I have one box at the stand. So just come to Nibu stand and I will show you. But so they gave us the box and the API to connect to the boxes. You have different way to connect. You have the web way, so they are connected by 3G. So you can control the box by just an API on internet. So Odoo is directly connected to this API. You can open the car, close the car, see the status, the battery, everything.
So the box is embedded in the car, right?
Yeah, so you pay a company to put...
software or some... The box interact with the car?
Yeah, the car is connected. So when you buy the boxes, they come and they install it for a fee. It's like 100 euro, and they install it, they connect it. And after that, you see your box on the API. The other way to communicate with it is only by Bluetooth. So you have the 3G system, but you can also communicate it by Bluetooth. So that means you need your a mobile device to do it. You need an app. And when you try to build a specific app, we are not the owner of the box, because the box is from another partner. You have to implement your app with an SDK that comes from the partner. And that's the real complicated part, because you need to make it work with your system, and you have to make it communicate with your app, with your platform, and with the car. And that's the real complicated part. But you need it, and you know why you need it? Because if your car is in a parking, just try to open it with 3G. It won't work. So you need the Bluetooth connection to be sure you can open the car anywhere.
Who was partner, like for box, like for the entire Bluetooth hardware that you guys?
So you have different partners. For the moment, we're working with Quantic. It's a French partner that does little box that connect in the car. And we have, for the moment, we are thinking of maybe working with another one, but I don't have the name right now. If you come to the stand, I will show you. I have different boxes, and I can show you the principle. Other question? Okay, thank you.